with that? Are you good? We're not live yet, but
We are
now,
now.
now we are live.
We are.
Okay, so, great. So this is Friday, January 16th. This is a continuation of Senate institutions. And we will be talking now about art in state buildings. And there's a change in the existing budget that is being recommended by the advisory committee, is my understanding. And folks are here to let us know what that is. So, do you two know who's going to go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, I think here I am. Yes, I'm gonna start off. Hi, everyone.
Okay.
I'm Susan Evans McClure. I'm the executive director of the Vermont Arts Council. Thanks for having us. Last minute today. Sorry, we're not with you in person, but thanks to the magic of Zoom for allowing us to join. So because we're a little coming in here, I didn't have a chance to ask beforehand. Do you want us to do like a little overview of the program before we talk about the advisory committee role and what the changes are for them? Or should we-
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, we do have one new member, but yes, so, do you wanna?
Yeah.
So I'm John Benson from the Orange District.
Hello, welcome. Welcome. We happened to do a presentation about this just last week in the House Institutions Committee. So what would art be without looking at images? So I'll note that the Art in State Buildings program, the role of the program is to commission original artworks from Vermont artists that go in state-owned buildings and public spaces. The program really recognizes the role that public art plays in improving the quality and character of state buildings and the experience for Vermont state employees, and also the cultural and aesthetic value of these spaces. So this program was established in 1988, and the way the program works is that there are funds identified in the capital bill, and those funds are transferred into an art acquisition fund, and then those funds are used for the purposes of providing works of art in public buildings and facilities that are linked to new construction or renovation projects in state-owned buildings. And the enabling legislation stipulates that these projects can happen in any state building that's undergoing new construction or renovation. And the projects have to be associated with a construction project that has a total cost of $1 million or more. And since its founding, we've commissioned over 60 artists to appear in 36 state-owned buildings and public spaces across the state. In 2023, the original legislation was updated with Act 50, which created a new funding mechanism that actually sets a minimum annual requested appropriation of $75,000 in the state budget. This is the first funding increase to the program since it was established in 1988. And the Arts Council administers the program in partnership with VGS. So we've completed projects in 12 of the 14 counties, and the geographic reach of the program is a really important piece of it for us. So this is a lot of text. I'll walk you through it. The statute defines that the program is overseen by the Art in State Buildings Advisory Committee, and the Advisory Committee provides final approval of project sites and works of art and establishes guidelines for the selection, acquisition, and commissioning of works of art. So the folks who are on the committee are the Commissioner of BGS, the Director of the Arts Council, that's me, the chairs of the House and Senate institution committees or their designees, the state curator, who you just heard from moments ago, and the chair of the Vermont Board of Architects. So what the committee does is establish guidelines for the management of the program. And per those guidelines, the advisory committee is the final authority on kind of all matters related to the program. The statute also establishes an art acquisition fund, and that fund specifically finances the design, construction, integration, and purchase or commissioning of works of art for the program. And per the statute, the fund, we take money from the capital bill, put it in the fund, and that any balance remaining at the end of the fiscal year remains in the fund. And this was created specifically because, as I'm sure you all know, these very large projects often take many years, they often change over time, and often it would be impossible to complete the creation of an integrated new work of art with one year. So I'm going to pass it over to Michelle, and she is going to explain the process of how these projects get developed, identified, and then we'll briefly talk about the changes. So Michelle.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Michelle Bailey. I'm the Senior Program Manager at the Vermont Arts Council, and I've been overseeing this program now for, I think, since maybe the late 90s. Been like quite a few years. When we are working with the staff at BGS, the Arts Council and the commissioner, her staff, and Susan and I usually meet with folks over there, and we talk about the potential sites, the potential spaces for public art. And then ultimately, we all kind of come together around some ideas for the project, or sometimes projects, to recommend to that advisory committee that oversees all of the selection and identification that Susan just went through. We do that either in a meeting, or sometimes if there's just a short agenda item, with everyone being so busy, we've done it via email as well from time to time. And once those funds are approved, then we move them, we send a memo to the BGS commissioner, and those funds that were identified are moved into that art acquisition fund for that project to begin. And our goal with that program has always been to try to get involved with the architects and designers of the building early enough that there is an opportunity for good integration of artwork potentially into the building itself, or at least to do some planning around, what kinds of lighting there might need to be, or the spaces that are being considered. So often we then, once the project is identified, I will work with the BGS program, or project managers, on identifying a local art selection committee, and then we talk about goals and project potential locations. And from time to time there are projects that we identify, but for various reasons, maybe it's the project, the budget has changed, the scope of the work has changed, maybe there's flooding. I mean, there could be any number of reasons why buildings may not continue on either for quite some time, or just get canceled altogether. In which case, you'll see here to the right in purple, we will then go back up to the BGS commissioner and think about, all right, well, we identified this building a number of years ago. What should we do with that fund now? What program or project should we move it to, so that within the art acquisition fund, there have been from time to time when we've had to move things around. So this is all done by, then we go through this process again, bringing it to the advisory committee, and then moving forward with a project. And once we do that, we get, fabrication and installation of the artwork. Before that, as the artists make their designs, we do a public process, and those designs are also approved by the advisory committee. And then when it's all installed, we have a party, and the work becomes a part of the state art collection. So that's a really quick overview of the process. We do have criteria that we look at in terms of building selection, around the public accessibility and usability of the building in the context of how it's being used, occupant interest, potential for artistic innovation. We look at kind of that regional distribution of the art over the lifespan of the program, and public use and visitation, et cetera. So that's kind of the process. I think I will stop there for the moment. I know we have limited time, so I will stop it at that point and can certainly answer questions.
Okay, and thank you. And you all, I'm sure will be back to our committee to explain your any other changes that you have in the capital bill. But if you could just let us know, explain why the decision that's before us today. And so my understanding is that there was a change that needed to be made, or that was recommended in funding for the Newport courthouse. So if you can just explain that, then we're ready to vote on it.
Great. So there's two things that were sent to the Art and State Buildings Advisory Committee to decide on. The first was a look back on some previous projects that had been identified that had changed. So the biggest of those was the Supreme Court project that had been identified as part of the FY 17, 18, and 19 funds. That project is not moving forward. So in conversations with the commissioner of BGS, it was recommended that the project's not happening, so let's make sure that we're making great art with those funds. So what was presented to the advisory committee was to take those funds and to move them to other existing projects that are underway. And those include at the Asa Bloomer State Office Building in Rutland, and the Department of Children and Family Services Green Mountain Youth Services Campus, which is still, we were told by BGS, in the works. They have a RFP out right now for that. So that was one, is moving around some of the funds to funds that are currently in the Art Acquisition Fund. So that's not anything out of the capital bill. Those are funds that are currently in the Art Acquisition Fund.
Okay, so that's not something that this committee will vote on.
No,
Okay.
it will be something that, as the representative of as a
Then I
member of the
will.
State Buildings Committee, yeah, you will be voting.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes, and okay.
The second piece is identifying an FY 26 project. The statute says that we identify a project every year with the funds. As Michelle just kind of explained, we met with the commissioner of BGS on identifying what the FY 26 project should be. Her recommendation was that, which we talked about with her, and she sold us on it, and we're on board, was to do something with the Newport Courthouse project. And so that was the recommendation to move forward with in FY 26. So the process, as Michelle said, is that recommendations with the advisory committee. Once the advisory committee approves it, then we can transfer the funds, which were capital bill funds that were identified in the previous year capital bill. Then we'll transfer those to the Art Acquisition Fund and start moving on that as well. Go ahead.
Okay, so so it sounds as if the full committee does not need to vote on that either, on the second item, the Newport.
No. And
okay, so
committee...
that's fine. That makes today easier. But I did want to bring it to the committee, just FYI,
exactly.
As of the Newport courthouse, just to specifically make sure that Senator Ingalls was aware of it.
And I will add that we are, we're administering the project as the Arts Council in partnership with BGS, and they're letting us know as things are changing from their side. So they have communicated to us that the Newport Courthouse is moving ahead, and it makes sense. I think it's going to be a big project. It's in a county that has not had many Art and State Buildings projects over the course of the lifespan of the program. So I think we're excited about it. We, again, like being a little bit on the outside of BGS, we're following along as changes happen with that project. And while neither one requires a full vote from this Senate Institutions Committee, I think it is really important that the committee members, we use the word committee a lot in this process, but this committee really is aware of everything that's happening with the project, so that you know how we're spending these state funds from the capital bill. And so you can come see this great artwork that's really enlivening the state-owned buildings everywhere across the state.
Definitely. And I think you do invite us when you have new art installations, which is great.
The next one will be I don't know if we have a timeline for that, Michelle, but in White River Junction, The Superior Court building in White River Junction is
Oh.
underway right now, installing a
you.
great piece of art there.
Well, look at you.
Good. Well, let us know. Yeah, we've actually been following
Gotta hang
that.
around here more often. Yeah, go around the corner from my house.
Exactly.
Any comments or questions? All right, well, thank you for being here. This is really helpful, and we'll see you when we start talking about things later on in this session.
Okay, great. Thank you
Okay.
so much for having us. Have a great
Thank
afternoon.
you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we don't need to vote, but this is the time if there's concerns, but I'm not hearing any. And thanks everyone. So let us adjourn.